Welcome to Back in Time. Today we witness a catastrophe so immense it shattered the very foundation of Western civilization. In the mid-14th century, a silent, invisible killer emerged from the east. It was the Black Death, and in just 4 years, it wiped out half the population of Europe, transforming the continent in ways no war or conquest ever could. This is the story of how a tiny bacterium ended the medieval world. The global journey of the killer. The villain of our story is the bacterium Yersinia pestis. It was carried in the bloodstream of rats, and its main vector to humans was the bite of the fleas that lived on those rats. The Silk Road Express. The plague began in the steppes of Central Asia and traveled along the bustling, interconnected trade routes of the Silk Road. In 1346, it arrived at the Crimean Peninsula. Legend tells of the Mongol Golden Horde besieging the city of Kaffa, catapulting the corpses of their own plague victims over the city walls, one of the earliest recorded acts of biological warfare. A ticking clock from Kaffa, infected Genoese merchant ships fled across the Black Sea, unknowingly carrying the deadly cargo of rats and fleas. In October 1347, those ships docked in Messina, Sicily. It was a death sentence for the entire continent. The plague moved faster than any government could react, spreading across Italy, France, and Spain, reaching Britain by 1348, the horror and the social collapse. The Black Death was not a quick, clean death. Victims suffered agonizing fever and vomiting, leading to internal bleeding and the namesake symptom. The buboes, huge, swollen, black, pus-filled lymph nodes that appeared in the neck, armpits, and groin. Once symptoms appeared, death was usually swift, arriving within 3 to 7 days. The breakdown of order. The sheer terror led to a total collapse of social structures. People abandoned their families, fleeing their homes and cities. Priests refused to administer last rites. Doctors fled their posts, and laws ceased to matter. The living could barely keep up with the dead, whose corpses often piled up in the streets. A crisis of faith. In this desperate era, many believed the plague was divine punishment for humanity's sins. Flagellants, groups of religious fanatics, marched through cities, publicly whipping themselves to atone for the sins they believed had brought the wrath of God upon them. However, when the prayers and penance failed to halt the disease, the authority and power of the Catholic Church were profoundly shaken. The transformation of labor. The Black Death was devastating, killing between 30% and 60% of Europe's total population. But out of this carnage came a revolutionary change for the survivors. The end of feudalism. Before the plague, Europe was defined by the feudal system, where serfs were tied to the land and had no rights. But with so many laborers dead, land became cheap, and labor became immensely valuable. A survivor could simply demand higher wages or walk away to find a lord who would offer better terms. The economic power shifted dramatically from the land-owning nobility to the working class. Peasants and laborers now had leverage, leading directly to the erosion and eventual collapse of the medieval feudal system and the birth of a rudimentary middle class. The plague gave the common man a voice, the legacy and the future. Despite the eventual end of the initial wave, the plague became a terrifying recurring reality, returning every few generations for the next few centuries. This constant threat influenced culture, art, and even medicine. The icon of fear. The enduring visual symbol of this era is the plague doctor. Though this iconic leather coat and beak mask were popularized in the 17th century, they represent the desperate, futile efforts of medieval medicine to combat an unseen enemy. The beak was stuffed with herbs to filter out the miasma, or bad air they believed caused the illness. The Black Death did more than just kill. It created a world of opportunities for the survivors, spurring innovation, fueling social mobility, and planting the seeds of change that would eventually blossom into the Renaissance. It was a cataclysm that, by destroying the past, created the future. Will the Black Death have been easily tackled with the use of modern-day technology? Well, that's a topic for another Back in Time episode. Stay tuned and see you next time.